Hey, we're Attn Trdg, a full-service digital marketing agency that helps small and mid-sized businesses with their strategic marketing efforts. From websites, design, social media, and ads, our goal is to create marketing alignment for our clients. You may not realize it, but the majority of businesses lack a solid marketing strategy and plan. That's where we come in. On this show, we talk with business owners, founders, and marketers to uncover the secrets of their success when it comes to starting and scaling a business. This is the Attn Trdg Podcast. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Attn Trdg Podcast, where we talk with CEOs, owners, founders, and marketers about how they grow, scale, operate, and market their businesses. My name is Max Lowy. I'm here with my co-founder of Attn Trdg, Steve Alves. Today, we're super excited to have Ben Cross join us for a deep dive convo about his company, GLOMO. Ben is the founder and CEO of GLOMO, a recruitment firm and consultancy focused on biz dev within the global mobility industry. He's the host of Love Relo and recently gave a TED Talk on going from outsider to insider by building relevance. Ben, welcome to the show.
Awesome to be here, Max and Steve.
It's great to have you. So I want to just honestly get right into this and hear about GLOMO. Tell us a little bit about the company, how it started.
Yeah.
Give us it all.
Yeah. So we're a consultancy and we do recruitment, which you noted. But I think what's cool about how it started was I started by doing a podcast, really, and it kind of grew out of that, right? Because out of that podcast, Love Relo, which you noted, we've done almost 600 episodes of that.
Oh,
and it started January of 2020. So it started before COVID. And so when you think about that longevity and that time period where there wasn't as much noise and clutter in the space, we were the first people doing LinkedIn Lives. That's kind of my platform is LinkedIn.
Right.
So LinkedIn Lives, like it was not a thing, and we were the first ones doing it. And so we started doing that. We started doing it on a daily basis too. So we were very prolific early, and by the time COVID hit, we had already done 30 episodes or more, probably more at that point, right? Because it was March, right? So we had two months under our belts, and so my point in saying all that is to say, what I found through doing this daily live show on LinkedIn was that I got what I call our 3 R's: reach, relevance, and relationships. And those 3 R's, reach, relevance, and relationships, were the things that actually enabled me to start my consulting practice. And that's what really launched the company GLOMO as it is today.
So real quick question. So the idea of doing it every single day, that's
Yeah.
I think that's super unique. I think in producing as much content as you possibly can, why was it a everyday thing for you?
It's unique and it's not unique, right? Like the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson was every day, right? Like, Fallon does every day. Kimmel does every day. Why can't I do every day, right?
Yeah.
SportsCenter's on every day, right? Why can't I do every day, right? Well, I mean, that's who I'm comparing myself to. That's what I'm trying to be, right? So if I'm trying to be the voice of my industry, I have to do it every day.
Love that.
Right? And what's cool about doing it every day is it forces you to get real creative. One, you're accountable. So people are looking for you every day. You train your viewer to find you every day and tune in, right? You become a habit for people, which is awesome, right? And 2, now you're like, oh crap, what am I going to talk about? I got to fill up some content. So you start like you want to have CEOs and founders on, and sometimes you just have like Felicia from accounting, and you're just like, all right, we're going to do this today. And sometimes Felicia doesn't show up, and you're like, oh, right. I guess I'm going to do a monologue today. You know what I'm saying? But and now you just did a 40-minute monologue, and you're like, oh my gosh, right? So it really forces you to try stuff. So I like that. We would have never done a Pride Month if I didn't do every day. We wouldn't have done like a Black History Month spotlighting like Black professionals in the global mobility space if I didn't have to do it every day. If I was doing one a week and only had 4 episodes in February, like maybe I would have had some Black professionals,
right?
But like we couldn't have taken a deep dive. You know what I'm saying? So we took some
Right.
really deep dives, and it's a 1-hour show, so 1 hour every day. with an unpaid producer at best was hard.
So, you bring up, so here's a question. The 1 hour every day, did you change the time of day? Like, how did you choose that timing based off of listeners? Like, was there any kind of research, market research, or you just were like, hey, I'm going to do it at this time? You picked it and you kind of stuck with it.
Availability.
Market research is bullshit to me because everybody's doing what market research says. So market research used to be send your newsletter at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Well, now 10 a.m. on Tuesday, everybody's sending their newsletter. So it's like, it's good to zig when other people zag or whatever the saying is, right?
Yeah.
So and you're never going to please everybody, and don't try, because if you're pleasing everybody, you're not doing anything interesting anyway. So it's like, so we rocked with 4 o'clock Eastern. That's basically what we landed on. We landed on that because I was still working. So it was like kind of when I could screw off and just like go do a podcast in my office for an hour, because nobody was really looking for me at 4 o'clock, So that just worked for me. It worked for the people on the West Coast. The people in London, they would bitch about it because it was 10 o'clock their time. They're like, oh, I'm staying up late for this, what? But it was what it was. It wasn't for the people in India. It wasn't for the people in Singapore. Like, it just didn't fit there. And they could catch it on repeat if they wanted to. So
Right.
I think I just did it at 4 o'clock, and it was what it was, and people adapted to it.
That was just purely born out of necessity. Now, has that changed at all for you guys? I mean, given that it's more of a morning thing now for you?
Like midnight to watch Saturday Night Live is really inconvenient for me, to be honest with you. Like, on a good Saturday, I'm doing something. On a bad Saturday, I'm asleep. Right? It's a really inconvenient time. But I like Saturday Night Live, especially the new stuff lately. It's been really good. But you adapt, and you're just like, if I want it, that's when it is. So
That makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. What was your other question though? I missed that.
No, I was just saying in general. Like, I think a lot of the things that get done in any number of businesses is purely born out of necessity. Like, it's not necessarily that we chose 4 o'clock because that's the peak hour, or the fact that you're trying to get them on a commute or trying to get them during a lunch hour. Like, it's purely born out of the fact, like, hey, I've got an hour at this time because of X, Y, and Z reasons. I'm not home yet. I'm not with the kids yet. I'm not trying to do all these things. And that's kind of where it's born. It's purely a necessity, and to a point where you're like, okay, now that this is a thing that we do on a regular basis, now we can do this, on every morning at 11 a.m. at 10 a.m.
100%. So I will take experience over research any day, right? Like people will tell me, like, and this is just my nature. This is who I am, right? I'm an entrepreneur, which basically means screw you, right? So if somebody tells me, oh, this is the best way to do it, I'm going to say, thanks. I'll take that under advisement. I'm going to go do it differently, and I'll come back and let you know what happened, right? And sometimes you're right, but I needed to know why you were right, so I needed to do it myself to really internalize that and get that muscle memory. And sometimes you're wrong, and sometimes you're so wrong, and everybody's wrong with you, that I'm going to really stand out and be amazing because I did it different. So yeah. I mean, to your point. And another thing I learned too through it, and I like to say this now, is like you learn so much when you hit record. Like you guys are launching this podcast, right? When you hit record, I watched the information enter your body. You're like, I don't know how I'm gonna start this thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I instantly saw your face go like, what's my snappy intro gonna be? Like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, I haven't thought of that part. I knew what I was gonna say about Ben, but I didn't know how I was gonna brand, look, and feel this thing myself, right? So you're exploring your own persona right now, So when you hit record, because you guys sat in a room or a Zoom meeting or whatever for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks talking about this. And you didn't cover what am I going to say when I hit record, and you just learned something, boom, instantly, right then and there. Because you learn so much more when you hit record than you do in 3 weeks of sitting in a board meeting.
Yeah, no, it's funny too, because I mean, I have, and we've talked about it, Ben, before, but like, I try to go out of my way to produce some kind of content, right? And I try to be very real and authentic.
Too, by the way.
Appreciate
share it
that.
On Instagram, I like it on LinkedIn. I think it's great stuff.
Yeah, and so typically it's all very, I think, similar to you. It's, hey, this is what I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to put fluff into it. Here, this is a different kind of arena for us, where we're, we talk to people all the time. We talk to clients, potential clients all the time, and it's a very real conversation. Now it's this is supposed to be a little bit more produced, but
A little more
at
curated.
the same time, we don't want it to be that. We want it to be us,
It's
right?
counterintuitive, right?
Yeah. So it was
on the one hand, you want it to be curated and professional and the best look and the best 40 minutes of your week put in front of somebody. On the other hand, you want it to be easygoing and candid and whatnot, and not scripted and not bullshit. So it's like, but which do we really want? And don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do and what they give you, and then you'll learn really what they want. So I applaud you guys trying to have candid conversations. I think it's hard because you're going to get people on here because you're going to go for titles like CEO and founder, and you're going to sacrifice relationship, and that relationship is where you're going to get the candor from, So I would say sometimes what I found is some of my best shows, in my opinion, and that's all I can really trust, is the ones where I just do them with like my friend who we just know each other, and the banter is like amazing, and we go deep on stuff together that we like, and you know what, screw people if they don't like it, you know what I mean? Go listen to something else,
I think the funny thing is like Max and I have these kinds of conversations, and this is kind of what was born out of this. Was him and I would have these authentic conversations all the time, either about like our processes or like the industry in general. And we're like, man, we're talking in a vacuum a lot of the times because it's us kind of reverberating back and forth with one another on our ideas and concepts. But like, this would be so good to be able to get someone else's opinion about the things that we're doing. Because like, even after post-COVID, like, we're not in offices, right? We're not around a lot of people a lot of the time. I mean, Max travels quite a bit, but like, we don't get that kind of nugget of information from somebody completely outside of our realm, but still kind of playing in the same environment that we're playing into. So it's good to be able to have, kind of get this out there, and then we're going to work out the bugs. We know that. But the main thing is for us to try to taste something and try something, right? Like, that's why we're doing this.
But you can't work out. Yes. And you can't work out the bugs before you even know what they are. And that's why like hitting record and doing a lot of it. And so here's another thing that I think is a myth out there. There's a myth that it's quality over quantity. And I think that's such bullshit. I think people use that to not produce. They use that to not put anything out there because it's not quality. But you never get to quality until you've had quantity, until you've had the reps and the practice. You know what I mean? So this whole quality over quantity is bullshit, man. And I think it's such a dangerous concept that holds so many people back, and 90% of people don't leave a mark at all in the world.
So we completely agree, and we tell a lot of our clients, it's when you are producing content, put it out there. And I think I told you this, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. The majority of your followers aren't going to see it, and that's why it's really smart to repurpose, because they didn't see it the first time, they didn't see it the second time. So just keep pushing it out there in different forms, different mediums. So I couldn't agree with you more.
It's so true. It's so true. And people tell me all the time, oh, I see you on LinkedIn. They don't watch anything I do. They just see it in their feed. They just see.
So you're a billboard in the passing highway they're going through. They're scrolling through and just happen to see you, right?
Yes. I'll have like 5,000 impressions. Well, that's probably high. I'll have like 2,000 impressions on a video, and I'll have like 400 unique viewers on that video.
Right.
So and those unique viewers have probably an average watch time of like 13 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
On a 1 hour thing. Right. You know what I mean? So
I mean, we're such a low attention audience now, right? Like, everybody zooms through commercials, everybody skips ads, right? But the fact that you're there and your presence is seen and you're memorable, I mean, you have your brand's on fleek with the colors, like, we know it's you. Like, your face is unique, the color palette you use for your brand is unique, we know it's you, right? So I think just being in the space is super important, even if they're not watching you.
Well, right? And I'll say on your lives, it's really interesting because the one, I guess, what was it, like 2 months ago, where I jumped on and we were having a conversation back and forth. I mean, like, I got a lead from that. Like, I got a real lead. We've gone back and forth. I gave a proposal, just by commenting on your show, and other people that were there were also interested in our service, right? So like, it is real. And I think your point that, you have 2,000 impressions, 400 people view it, 13 people, but like, okay, there was a ton of comments, right? And so that to me is like the engagement. Like that's the important piece. And so how do you turn that? How do you create those relationships from those that engagement? And I feel like you do it better than most.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Because I think that is some special sauce there, right? And I love the fact you got a lead. It does not surprise me at all, by the way, because so many people have networked through the comments. I literally talked to a woman I'd never met before who said, I owe my career to you. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, you had Stephanie on your show. Stephanie was doing the job I wanted to do. I was in the comments. I networked with Stephanie after her show, told her what a great job she did. Stephanie then, and I asked her to mentor me. And then Stephanie then hired me for a role she had on her team. And then when Stephanie left, I took her job. You know what I'm saying?
That's
and
crazy.
And I'd never met this woman before in my life. And then I called her to try to sell her something. And she took the call. She wanted to have the call with me to tell me that I like changed her life.
I mean, that's
the crazy thing too, right? So we talk about cold calling. I never have a cold call.
That's sick.
They already have an impression.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's such a crazy story.
Think about the value of never having a cold call. People say, why do you invest so much time into this stuff? How, and how much money does it cost you? I mean, I spent probably $100,000 on video production last year. I'm not recommending that. I'm changing it this year, by the way. But what I'm saying, real money, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have any ads on it. I don't have any sponsors. Nobody has to pay to be on it or whatever. But people say, why do you do that? I say, I wouldn't have a business without it. Yeah. I wouldn't have GLOMO. I wouldn't have the reach, relevance, relationships that I trade on, that is the currency that I trade on without the show.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I'd like to dive deeper there, right? So your show started in 2020.
January 2020.
It's 2024. Yeah. 2024 now, right? So a lot has happened. Like you just said, 600 plus shows. That's
2020,
crazy.
21, 22, 23, 24. We're in our 5th year now.
5th year. Since then, though, you built a business, Yeah. So you were working.
I've got people in Asia. I got people in South America. I got people in the U.S. I'm in my headquarters office right now, like legitimately paying rent, overhead, real office, grown up stuff.
Real box.
Yeah. So you've built a real business off of this. And I guess my question, because I feel like a lot of people that hopefully will be watching this and listening, like what made you take that leap? Because you were doing it, you were seeing some success, obviously, whether you were, I see the passion, but like, what made you take that leap? Like, what was that last straw or whatever it was?
Yeah, I'll tell you that, but I'm gonna say though, I want people to understand this. So we have a $1 million business, but I want to be clear, the podcast is not the business. People say that to me all the time. How do you make money? It's not the business. Okay, it's advertising. It's not the business. We do recruiting for people. We do consulting for people. We do video production service for people. We do M&A advisement for people. So we have an actual product that we sell. I just want to be clear because I think there's a lot of people out there that make video for its own sake and think they're going to get rich off making videos. And yes, that is a thing and it happens. Basically, it's called being a professional spokesperson. An influencer is a spokesperson from the 70s, just repackaged. So it can be done. That is not what I do. I think it's important to let people know that I'm not advocating for just being an influencer. For me, it's a marketing strategy towards building another business that actually has a product. I just think it's an important clarification.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because people will oversimplify it, that kind of stuff. So to your question, why did I leave start my own business? I always wanted my own business. I just never had the balls to do it. And there was a point, I was living in Detroit I was up there for like 5 years. I was like a vice president of a moving company. And I was making good money. I was making like $180,000, $190,000 a year. Big house on the golf course. Just had my second kid.
Back in 2019.
This is 2020. Yeah, 2020. Yeah. And so I wanted my own thing. I started looking at businesses to buy. I looked
What
at
what kind of businesses?
yeah, it's a great question, right? And this was the problem. I was like, oh, I know the moving industry front and back. Everybody knows me. I can make a ton of money in this business, right? And I looked at moving company, like a local moving company in Michigan, that I could grow and build. I looked at a freight company that did, work for auto manufacturers. I looked for a final mile home delivery business, like so when you order a sofa on Wayfair or a TV on Best Buy or whatever, they deliver it to you,
Yeah.
inside the home. I looked at like 4 different businesses like this, but all were like kind of like a men in trucks kind of business. My wife, who is, if you don't have a wife, get one, because they keep you out of all the stuff you're not smart enough to keep yourself out of. They civilize us, and she told me one day, and I hate when she's right. She's right all the time. It's so annoying. But she's like, why do you want to get a trucks business? You don't even know how to change your own oil. You walk into the warehouse at the moving company and the guys make fun of you because you wear suits to work. He's like, you don't like these people. They don't like you. Why do you want to be in this business? And I'm like, you know what? You're so freaking right. I don't know how to change oil. I don't want to learn how to change oil. And if I buy a moving company, my ass is going to be on a truck in the middle of June bailing something out. And I'll probably die on that truck having a heart attack in 89 degree, 80% humidity, 80 degree weather. Like, I'm not trying to do that. So why do I want to do that? So I thought about it. I prayed about it a lot too. Wife and God, those are 2 things you need in your life if you're, a person, a dude. But I thought, I prayed about it, and I was like, and what I really like to do, I like people. I like making deals. I like making introductions to people. People call it selling. I just call it making introductions that can be transformative for people. And so how do I do that, which I'm good at? And oh, by the way, why do I want to buy someone else's moving company when I'm like one of the most like well-connected people in the moving industry? When you buy a company, you buy the inventory and the assets it has, and then you buy goodwill. And goodwill is like the value of the company. What make, the value of the phone ringing, the value of existing customers, et cetera, right? Who has more goodwill than me? Why am I paying some joker that nobody knows for his goodwill when I have the most goodwill of anybody? So it's like, why am I buying a business that already exists? Why not start a business that's new? And why start a business with trucks when I don't like trucks? Why not just start a business where the product and service is me? And that's what I did.
Love that.
So what was cool about it was the overhead was super low. It wasn't non-existent though. So what I did is I started doing little side jobs and stuff throughout 2020, off the clout from the podcast, right? And now everybody's in COVID, everybody's locked in their house, so now nobody can go anywhere for conferences. So I started helping all these associations do their virtual conference, so it didn't suck and it just wasn't some warmed over webinar. I started to help people, to make introductions for people because they couldn't get out and sell. So I started helping them with that, and so people started sending me money, and I started making like $5,000 here, $3,000 there, $10,000 there. And all of a sudden, by the end of 2020, in 6 months, 5 months, I had made $54,000 in mailbox money, if you will, right? And like side hustle money. And I'm like, this ain't quit your job money, but it's real money, which shows me that there's product market fit here. People value what I do. And as I understand it better, they will continue to value it more. And so I went to the clients that I had the most traction with, and I said, hey, if I were to quit my job at the moving company and I were to represent you as a consultant, would you pay me $10,000 and would you pay me $10,000? And one of them said, no, I can go from 3 to 5 to 8 to 10 over like a 3-month ramp up. And the other one said, no, but I can do 7,500. And I said, sold, let's go. So then once December 16th hit, I put in my notice of resignation, which they took effective immediately. And I was off to the races with my 2 clients.
So did you, let me ask real quick, because I think this happens a lot, because we get consulted with creatives and developers, because it just happens to be our industry, who are considering making that leap, right? They're like, hey, I've worked in an agency, I've worked in this company for a really long time. I think the biggest holdup for all of them is what if I fail, right? Like, what if this doesn't work out, right? So for you, what's that?
That's the number one fear people have.
So how did you get over that fear? Was that ever a consideration to you? Because I'm assuming
So
you
I
have
have an
kids,
advantage. I
right?
have an advantage. Yeah. I have an advantage. Well, the kids weren't going to look at me different, right? Because the kids don't know better. The wife, the family at Christmas,
Mm.
the coworkers who used to respect you and now you're basically unemployed. Those are the people you got to worry about. Your parents, right? What are your parents going to say, right? So so people don't want to look stupid. That's really what it is. That's what that fear comes from. It's not a fear of failure as much as it is a fear of looking stupid. Because we spend our whole life trying to look good, right? We we get a little haircut. You know what I'm saying? I have a little
You do look good.
jacket,
You do
right?
look good
I
today.
get I get some initials after my name. I get a diploma, right? Doing all the things. Got the car, the house, the wife, the kid. You start amassing these things that make you look good. In fact, I've read a Harvard Business Review study. I think it was like 30% of 30% of a leader's time they spend just trying to look good, just covering their butt, just trying to. And so if you the idea being if you stop spending 30% of your time doing that, like how much more productive could you actually be?
Yeah.
But my point is that looking good thing is so big and so prevalent. And I say that I had an advantage because I always looked stupid. Like I was always like the guy doing the thing first, being stupid, doing it counterintuitively. Like I worked for 1-800 Pack Rat, right? I worked for Pods and tried to market these container companies into the traditional moving industry. So I had been getting laughed at my whole life.
So here's a question though: Was that strategic on your end to
To get laughed
place your
at a
well
lot?
to place yourself in specific scenarios or specific companies, or was it just kind of
No,
it
not at all.
fell
I
into
think
place
just
that way?
I think I've just always been comfortable being an outsider. I mean, that's kind of what I did my podcast about, right? Or not my podcast, my TED Talk about was,
Hmm.
I grew up in I was born in Texas, but I grew up in New York, right? And so when I arrived to New York when I was like 6 years old, right? I had a twang. I might have had a mullet. I was like, I thought the Rangers were a baseball team, not a hockey team. Like, I
Right.
mean, it was a major culture shock, and I didn't sound like the other kids, and I didn't have the same story and whatever. And so I've always been an outsider, and I've been comfortable with it. I don't like it. I want to be an insider, which is where my career path has gone that way. But being an outsider prepared me to be the ultimate insider because I was
Mm.
comfortable being the first person to do something. I was comfortable, dancing when nobody else was dancing. I was comfortable speaking when nobody else wanted to speak. I was comfortable going out and being the crazy guy doing something on his own, not waiting for everyone else. You'll see me at a conference. I'll be sitting at a table all by myself, eating by myself. And it freaks people the fuck out. Like they come up to, are you okay? This is so weird. Why are you sitting by yourself? And literally 5 minutes later, the entire table's full.
Right.
People will come to you. They will adapt to you. You don't have to adapt to people. I think it's so important for people to understand that. Right now, everybody wants to be like with GLOMO and do things with GLOMO, and GLOMO's so cool. But I just made this shit up. I made this shit up 4 years ago. I just made up this word. I trademarked it, and now it's a real thing. People have now adapt to us. Right now, we're market leaders, but you can't be a leader if you're just fixated on sticking with the crowd.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
you've built that tough skin just by trial and error and having to
Yeah,
go through your
I'm not
entire
fat.
life,
I
right?
just
Yeah.
have thick skin. Yeah, no, for real. That's what I tell people. Like I'm not even fat. I just have thick skin. No, I think you just get comfortable. It's just repetition.
Oh yeah,
I've
for
been
sure.
I've
So
been
what would your advice be for someone who's not necessarily in your industry but who's looking to make that leap, right? I think Max and I made that leap years ago. Like we remember how it feels. What's your kind of advice for someone that would be looking to do something like that?
make micro leaps. You don't
Mm.
have to jump out the plane. Like like do little things. So for me, the first entrepreneurial thing I did wasn't well, I've been doing entrepreneurial stuff. I mean, I was selling candy and in
yeah.
fifth grade. I was selling fireworks in middle school. I was selling pot in high school. I was selling, clubs in college. I was selling, I was always selling something. So I think they'll make those micro leaps. Like so the first entrepreneurial thing I did, in my career was I started a company within a company called Forward Relocation, which was a subsidiary of 1-800 Pack Rat designed to target the corporate moving market, right? And I used their money and their shared services and all the support, whatever, of that company to explore my entrepreneurial, bent. So I got to practice some things, market positioning, launching a new brand, things like that, right? Um, The entrepreneurial thing I did before starting my company was I started Love Relo. Well, it wasn't a company per se. It wasn't a business, but it had a logo. It had a name. It started from zero, from nothing, from no brand identity to no recognition. And then it became something important. So I'd like try little things like that. Start a podcast, start a side hustle, do things like that. Start writing and expressing yourself like that. Writing and selling, creating and selling are the two things that really are at the heart of entrepreneurship, in my opinion. Selling is the number one skill I think you need as an entrepreneur, because nothing happens until there's revenue, and you're employee number one. So you are the revenue producer. So if you can't sell yourself, then you won't have a business. And creating, whether it's content, content's a great way to start by putting yourself out there, because you're gonna have to create a whole company. So creating and selling, those are the two things I would focus on.
You mentioned reading a Harvard review, right? And you mentioned writing quite a bit, right? What about books? Is there anything you listen to, anything you read, like anything that you're like this has changed something for me?
Yeah. So I was an English major in college, which my dad laughed at. He was like, why would you go do that? I remember I was dating this Ukrainian girl in college, and I went to meet her parents in Queens, right? She was a Ukrainian Jewish girl, right? And I went to meet her parents who spoke hardly any English at all, right? And they're like, "What are you studying?" And I'm like, "I study English." They're, "Why do you study English? You speak perfect English. What are you doing? Go get a real job, go get a real degree." Anyway, she went to become a lawyer, and I became an entrepreneur. But I say all that to say, I think English, I think reading, I think it's all super important. I read a lot more early in my career, a lot of self-help books, a lot of business development, business books, things like that. The book I think that was probably the most influential to me in my career, this book is so freaking old. This book is so old. This book was written in 1935. 1935, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I knew that was coming. Once you said it was old, it's like
there are no new ideas, just execution, y'all. We're all out there trying to give people sound bites and yeah, I say things differently, so it's kind of interesting sometimes, but that's just execution on old ideas, right? How to win friends and influence people, how to win people to your way of thinking, how to get people to like you, how to get people to trust you, how to get people to buy from you. It's all covered right there. It's super accessible, easy to read. I've read that book probably 3 times. And to me, that's at the essence of all of it. Because if people like you and they trust you, forget about it. What else do you need?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think that just kind of brings it back to one of your R's, and that's relationships, right? Yes. And the relationship starts with that trust. When it comes to selling in business, it is the trust. Do they trust you? Do they like you?
And this is the thing, I think, that I didn't start from zero in this category, right? I had tons of relationship capital built up for years. So I see people, this is another mistake I think people make when they start a business. I have a good friend. He's an entrepreneur. He went and started a custard shop. And then that didn't work. It failed very fast. And it's like, dude, why are you starting a custard shop? I mean, we all like ice cream, but why are you doing this when you have so much institutional knowledge, industry knowledge over here, you have so much relationships over here, you have so much momentum over here? Why go over here where nobody knows who you are to do something you know nothing about?
Yeah.
And that was also kind of when my wife was telling me, why are you going to go leave here to go over here and start this trucking company, and I think it's so important that people understand. I didn't just start Love Relo and people started commenting like crazy because I had some kind of crazy riz or something like that. I had known these people for a dozen years already.
Right.
I had been going to trade shows with these people, having drinks with these people. They've watched me and my family grow up. They've watched me grow up, and so now when I decided to do a podcast, now they come out and they support what is just another step in my growth, my process, my journey. They were with me all along. I just gave them a new way to support me.
Yeah.
Publicly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. So that makes total sense. All
So
right. So
start building these relationships before you need them. People don't go network until they have something to sell, and that's the worst thing to do.
Right.
Because
It's
now,
so on yeah,
yeah,
sure.
it's awkward as
it's the
hell.
worst. The worst.
I mean, the one thing Max and I talk about all the time is authenticity, right? Trying to
Yeah.
be as authentic as we possibly can in everything that we do. And I think that hits it right in the head, right? Like not building relationships for the sake of selling, but building them for the sake of people, right?
Yes. I have people that reach out to me for a job because I have a recruiting firm, and like they'll be like, "Hey, just looking around now." Meanwhile, I had sent this person 3 LinkedIn DMs over the years because you could see like
Yeah.
and they never
Right, right.
responded. And now you hit me back when you want a job. Like, get lost. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't, you know what I mean? Because then what kind of character do you have? You know?
Yeah.
And I've been on the other side of that. I mean, we all do it, but like, you know what I mean? Don't don't do that, right?
It's funny. It's funny you say that because especially like a LinkedIn DM, I think I made a post a few months back of like how many people really just ignore the majority of DMs that they get, and it's interesting because you don't know that person a lot of the time where they're at in their career. Like you responding could change the trajectory of their career, right? Like
Yeah.
just like that, just by one conversation, it could literally change everything for them. And so it's how do you uh, give the time and energy and effort to respond or not respond respectfully, right? Like it's figuring out what that looks like for it's I'm a big believer that most people are good at heart, right? And so we try to at least we try to always do the best that we possibly can, and we try to communicate over communicate whenever we can. And when I get random DMs all the time, I always respond. I mean, like, I could change someone's life and I don't even know it, and that's just how I think. And I think to have that kind of mindset, that to give that opportunity, that just put it out there in the world for, again, for me or for that person. I just think it says a lot about people's character, and I think it could. I'd love to see more people do that. Again, we get spammed a lot for just random DMs and that you don't answer, but like from someone that just needs help, why not help them? Like that's how I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, if you can do something to help somebody, you should definitely do it. Um, I will say that something happens in your career and life where you just have so much more time pressure, and you can't do. I mean, that's one of the worst parts of my job because I love helping people, and we're recruiting firms. So people reach out to us when they're unemployed, and I can't help everybody. I
Yeah.
hate it. So many times people hit me up, "Oh, I'm looking for a job." I'm just like, "Nah, I don't got it, buddy. Like, I just
So,
can't do it."
as far as, so I guess getting back into that, you can't. Is it there's not enough jobs
I
right
don't have a
now?
job I don't have a job that meets their skill set. And
Right.
then they'll come back with like, "Oh, but I'll do anything." But I'm not in the business of selling people that'll do anything.
Right.
Like I'm
You're
looking for
very
like that
special.
precise fit, you know what I mean? And my clients are I don't work for, and this sounds so terrible to say, but I don't work for the candidate. I work for the client. The candidate doesn't pay me, the client pays me. So I have to do what's best for the client. I have a fiduciary responsibility to the client. And sometimes that means I can't I can't make that recommendation.
Yeah.
Um, so or maybe I'll give them some advice, and that's not always what they're looking for. They want an easy answer, but
Yeah. No, that makes sense. As far as the market right now, I mean, how is it? What's going
there's a
on?
misalignment right now. There's a real misalignment. There's a misalignment in skills. There's a misalignment in expectations. So right now we're seeing a lot of demand for salespeople, um, but the market has a lot of account managers out there. And
Got
it's
it.
like, well, you want to manage accounts, but what if there aren't any accounts? You gonna go sell something?
Mm.
Or nah? Nah?
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, I got to keep it moving. The other thing I would say is, with that, is that um, there's a misalignment on the remote work thing, right? People are looking for remote work jobs, and they're in office is really the paradigm has shifted back to being in office, and especially during challenging times. I think right now oddly enough, the stock market's doing, great, and things on paper look really strong. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of individuals are going through some hard times right now. And when people are going through hard times and companies are going through hard times, they really want to come together and coalesce around these problems to figure these things out.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned work from home, right? So let's get your business owner perspective on people working from home.
Yeah. I got the old man crotchety answer for you. Right? Get your ass in the office. So, well, if you're serious, right? If you're a serious person and you're trying to do things and make things happen, it's so funny because people want to save time. They want to save time by not commuting, but they don't think about the years they waste not getting promoted. You want to save time on your morning commute, but what if I told you, and so many companies have, that you can work from home, but you're not going to be considered for a promotion.
Because you value the face-to-face, in-person building relationships so much more than the saved time of the commute.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I spend $3,000 a month on rent for an office. There's a reason I bought all these stand-up desks and all these office chairs and all these plants and all this bullshit. Yeah, because I value the hell out of it. I value the face-to-face interactions. I value dude, check it out, man. If 70% of communication is nonverbal, how much are we missing?
Right.
And I'm not in the same room with you.
As we literally see, 10% of your entire body on this podcast.
Yeah. Trust me, the rest of me looks very different. But you don't know that. You're basically coming into a conversation like this. You know what I mean? So, and if my job as a CEO is really the chief communicator, and my job is to just to repeat constantly the vision of what we're trying to do, and make sure everybody on my team knows where we're going and what we're headed for. But what better way would there be than to be together to do that?
And where's your office located? Is it in New York?
Texas. So we're in North Dallas.
Oh, okay. So you were born in Texas, went to New York, went to Chicago, and then back to Texas.
New York, Detroit. Detroit.
Oh, Detroit. I'm sorry.
I went to school up in New York. Graduated from SUNY Albany State University in New York at Albany Godanes. Met my girlfriend, who's now my wife. Moved to Dallas right after college. Got promoted within 6 months and relocated to Pod's headquarters out in Clearwater, Tampa, Florida. Lived there for about 6 years. Moved back to Texas just personal reasons, and then got a promotion and relocated to Raleigh, North Carolina. Was there for a few years, and then got recruited and relocated to Detroit, Michigan. And then when I started my business, I sold my house in Detroit and quit my job and moved back to Dallas, closer to family,
Nice.
Better economy. Just I could do whatever I want, so I did.
Yeah, love Texas.
But I mean, I'll tell you what, like this whole relocation thing, man. It's like relocating for work did so much for my income. I mean, when I started my career, I was making $11 an hour in a cubicle in 2006. And then by 2016, 10 years later, I was making $180,000. So when you graph that out, the compound growth rate of that income, and you look at the amount of moves and relocations I did, like significant. If I would have stayed in Florida, which is like my first major career stop, they joke, they pay you in sunshine down there. That's what they say. And it's like, well, I can't take that to the bank. You know what I mean? I'm a young man in my 20s that's trying to climb the corporate ladder, and you're trying to pay me in sunshine and no state income tax. That doesn't jive for me, you know? So by being able to relocate, it opened up the entire United States to me for job opportunities, and I followed the best ones, and that's what allowed me to compound growth my career like that.
Yeah.
So let's ask this question, because I think that kind of goes right into like one of the questions we want to ask everybody is, now being where you are now, right, in the position which you're in, the company you own, did you ever think that 10-year-old Ben would be sitting where he is today, and if whatever that is currently, do you think that was a possibility for you back then?
No, I mean, that wasn't on my radar when I was 10 years old. I was in 5th grade. I was in Miss Turk's class. I was being bad. Shout
out Miss Turks.
Shout out Miss Turks. Yeah, she was good. but no, I mean, I was kind of a disruptive kid. No, I did not think about entrepreneurship. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur. That was not
That's
on the
awesome.
radar at all for me. I thought I was going to be probably either like an English teacher, or maybe I might work on like Wall Street. Like my mom worked in municipal bonds, not like big time like Gordon Gekko Wall Street, but like just on the street.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I would do something like that. I mean, because really, right? What do we know? We only know what we've seen in the past, right? And those become our models, right? And so, I think the word role model, right, comes from that, right? And so it's like I think it's important to expose kids and all of us, frankly, to different models. Like I didn't even know that consulting was like a real thing. I thought that's just what people said when they were unemployed. Like I didn't actually know you could do that. Like people just pay you for ideas. So
yeah, it's that's interesting. Okay, so I guess my one of my last questions, I guess, because I know we're gonna wrap it up in a minute, but moving forward, looking to the future, like GLOMO, where you're at today, what's the rest of this year look like for you? What's 20 like? I know you just brought on, or I don't know how recent, but like M&A, right? Like you started that.
yeah.
Is there something else in the works, or
I mean,
even how's that
well,
going?
it's funny you say something else. The new thing for me is to do less things. So last year we had 4 verticals. We did consulting, we did recruitment, we did video production, and we did mergers and acquisitions. So for me going forward, I need to skinny that down to 3 or 2 things because we're trying to do too much, trying to do too many, not do too much, trying to do too many. And so, so that for me is a more is less kind of thing, because all of those businesses are all $100 million plus businesses potential, right? But why am I trying to do four of them poorly? I should try to pick 2 of them. I remember one of my favorite sayings. I say this to my staff all the time. My father-in-law, he's old school, right? And he'll say, like, listen, if you get in a fight with 5 guys, you get in a fight with 5 of them, pick one and beat the shit out of them. Okay. And I think that's what you got to do with your strategy. Sometimes you got to pick one thing, beat the shit out of it, right? So pick one thing you can do extremely well, differentiated, and uniquely valuable, and do it and do the heck out of it. So for me, it's about picking those things. This year, though, for me, I really want to close at least 1 M&A deal. Our goal for this year is 2. We've had 2 deals fall apart this year, which is just soul crushing. But that's cool. That's fine. We're gonna keep it moving. I've been doing it now for a year and a half, 2 years now. So we're gonna land 2 of them this year and prove this out. So that's
Love that.
Did you learn anything super important from the 2 that you lost?
Oh,
I mean,
God,
there's got to be some learning
so
in every
much.
loss, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's such a great question. Which one's first?
That you can share.
I think I took for granted. That it was a done deal, and I stepped out of it a little bit and let the parties work on it together. And I think had I continued to stay involved, I could have added value by helping the 2 sides understand one another better. And I think they were talking past each other to the point where it just became irreconcilable. So I think that was the one. And then the second thing, the second deal that fell apart, I think I could have brought. There was another decision maker in the process that was not evident. We discounted the importance of this person because they were a minority stakeholder and shareholder. And had that person been involved in all the conversations, they wouldn't have become a deal breaker down the road. So I think I underestimated. I underestimated the importance of staying involved and underestimated the importance of keeping everybody at the table together.
I mean, those are huge learnings. Like it's great that you can take a step back and understand that, right? And move it, for future deals. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Well, Steve, you have anything else that you want to ask Ben?
I mean, personally, I feel like we could have 10-hour conversations because like the journey is interesting. I mean, we didn't touch a ton on GLOMO, which I would love to have dug deeper into. But like, yeah, I mean, I think there's opportunity to do this again in a future episode down the road. Really appreciate you, man. Like, love the insight, love the journey, love the enthusiasm. It's great. It's great to have you on.
I really enjoy, honestly, just being able to tell my story. I'm normally the one asking the questions, and I always feel like I have more to say, you know, and so it's nice to be able to be asked. So thank you both for having me on.
Of course,
Sure,
of course. Well, Ben, thanks again. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome.
All right, thanks.
And dead air.